Hey there, and welcome back to What's Next Wall Street. I'm George Alfredas.
Yes, you are, and I'm Dave Mathews, and this is the Juneteenth episode of the show where tech, finance, AI, and all the latest customer trends come together in one epic mashup. Georgia, we were 2 years late to the party, but now we're kicking it off.
That's right. Got a topic you want to dive into, or do you just want to chat? I'm impressed that you know your history. Slide into our DMs on social media at What's Next Wall Street, or email us at WNWshow@gmail.com. And don't miss out on our crazy antics over on YouTube at WNW Show, where we are right now. Make sure to subscribe and hit that alert button so that you are always in the loop when new episodes drop.
All right, Nvidia has done it. They are now the most valuable publicly traded company with a $3.34 trillion market cap. They're up
Insane.
9 times from January 2023. And thank you, Georgia, for telling us to buy the company, and I did not.
Well, there you go. I'm coming to you from my yacht. No kidding.
We're going to hear from you or Greg later about this later in the show. So stay tuned for that. And now get this. It's the ultimate TikTok challenge. A U.S. appeals court will hear challenges to a possible TikTok ban as soon as this summer. A new law demands ByteDance sell the company or the app, divide the company, which ByteDance is really hanging on to their intellectual property for that algorithm that they have. And they have to do this by January 19th or face a ban. It seems like, the more they get banned, it's probably just like growing numbers. So I'm sure they're happy for the visibility. Like, oh, we shouldn't do something. The government says no. Let's do that. Yeah. TikTok creators and ByteDance are suing to block this with a showdown. It's set for September. So stay tuned to our next episodes for more information on the kids doom strolling to oblivion.
Do you know I don't even have TikTok? When people send me TikToks, that's the only time I get to. That's the only time I get to see like TikTok dances or whatever's on TikTok. Is if somebody sends me a TikTok and then it's like, "Do you want to download the app?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not. I have enough with the cats on Instagram, so no, thank you."
That's right. They do a really good job forcing you to try and download the app too, because you can only watch that single video that your friend sent you, and then they start teasing more. But you have to get the app. I think they did a great job with that terrorism. China.
Oh wow. Yeah. Boeing CEO is apologizing to families who lost loved ones in the tragic Boeing plane crashes. At a Senate hearing, CEO David Calhoun stood up and directly addressed the relatives of the Boeing 737 MAX crash victims from 2018 and 2019. Of course, his apology comes as whistleblowers accuse Boeing of retaliating against them for raising quality concerns. But Calhoun is denying those claims, the whistleblowing claims that they have treated these people poorly and fired them and done every other thing. But I kind of believe the whistleblowers. 2 of them are murdered
now, but we don't talk about that on the show.
We don't do those kind of things.
No. I don't know nothing about that. But I love that he's apologizing. What is it, 2024?
And I know. I apologize. And by the way, we didn't. Yeah.
It's double Juneteenth.
Like triple, quadruple. Yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm. Okay, I get it.
Hey, Georgia, did you know that Silicon Valley has a new nickname? It's called Wealthville.
What is it? Wow. Wealthville. Okay, I get it.
I guess that's kind of cheesy. The Silicon Valley Pain Index from San Jose State University revealed that a teeny tiny fraction of households, that's 0.001%, are sitting on a whopping $100 billion. Is this right? 100 billion?
How is that possible? But it's right. I think it's right. I saw the story. Yeah, it's right.
All right.
Because
that's 12 times more than half of the region combined, right?
So that's
everybody
right,
that lives everywhere. Holy cow, $100 billion. Activists are buzzing about the need for affordable housing, worried that sky-high living costs could send young talent packing, which is absolutely true. A lot of people have not moved back to San Francisco because of the extra costs here. And with work from anywhere, a lot of companies were paying California, San Francisco, LA rates when you could live anywhere. And companies are like, hey, if you're not coming back to the office, we're going to readjust because you're living in Montana, living on a pittance of what you have to spend. So, but although there's like recruiting fairs and AI, people are coming back to the city. So the city's a mess, but people are moving back. So that's nice.
Well, what are you doing there? You love it so much, but So whenever I'm watching these shows on I forget what channel, Travel Channel, whatever, and people are trying to move to San Francisco, I can't believe what they're paying for these houses. What's wrong with y'all? Are you crazy? It just doesn't get that good. There's no place. I'm sorry. I have to be in a chateau in Italy to pay the prices. It's insane. $1 million won't even get you a 3-bedroom house. Like, that's crazy. Insane.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. And that's why so many friends of mine that moved to Texas, they paid all cash for their homes. So you don't have to worry about these high interest rates. So there's definitely a dichotomy. But, companies are trying to bribe their employees to come to the office. We've talked about this on the show with Salesforce. They're donating to your favorite charities to get you to come into the office. So it's a dog eat dog world, and that's why we're here eating lunch.
Yeah,
all right.
That's right. Well, speaking of housing, the housing market is heating up with new listings up 13% in overall homes for sales, jumping 22% from last year. But here's the tea. 40% of these houses and homes have been chilling on the market for 2 months or more. Okay. And it's funny because in my neighborhood, as soon as I drive into my neighborhood, there's this really amazing house right on the corner. And I'm like, how long is it? I'm like, wait, that house is still for sale? Despite the spike, we're seeing 34% below pre-pandemic levels. Looks like the real estate roller coaster is far from over. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I just looked up that story about the 100 billion. It is B billion, and it's of liquid net worth. It's not even real estate holdings.
Oh my
That's
Lord.
crazy. That makes it even more sad for me.
Worse.
And really, if you have a home here, you can't even afford to sell it to buy a new one because the rates are too high, right? So you're kind of stuck where you are.
You're stuck.
Yeah. And Gallup's State of the Workplace poll is throwing shade at disengaged employees who are costing the global economy nearly $9 trillion a year in lost productivity. Globally,
they're not happy because they're spending too much on their houses in San Francisco. They're angry.
That's right.
I don't blame them.
Or wherever they are, right? Interest rates are high everywhere. Globally, 20% of workers say they're feeling lonely, angry, or sad daily, with 41% stressed out and feeling increasingly detached from their employees post-pandemic. I guess that means coworkers. The U.S. and Canada are leading in engagement at 33%, but also rank high in stress. It's a mood or a vibe, as they say, for sure. But that's like, look, it's summertime. We're not to the summertime sadness yet, as Lana Del Rey would say. But like, go get a hobby. Buy some old cars, fix them up. Yeah.
Yeah, get some sun, get some vitamin D in your blood.
Yeah, how many companies now are figuring out like, I think the latest story was from Wells Fargo that people are using the mouse jiggler, that little app that wiggles the mouse every so often to make it seem like you're working. That way your screensaver doesn't kick on.
Yeah.
So that's a good, I would say that was a good hack for the past, but not anymore.
But now everybody knows.
Everybody knows.
So listen to this. Tesla shareholders just gave Elon Musk's mega pay package the green light again after a Delaware court nixed it last year. Now, originally worth over $50 billion, it's now slightly lower. But once you get to the billions, I mean, hell, once you get to the hundreds of millions, who cares? Now it's slightly lower thanks to a dip in Tesla stock. Even still, Musk is back in the money big time. However, Apple is the ultimate flex, especially on Microsoft, since reclaiming its crown as the most wait a minute, they're not the most valuable public company in the U.S. anymore. Are
That's
they?
Right.
With they did. It's Nvidia with a market cap of 3.29 trillion. Yeah, well, they have a market cap of 3.9 trillion, and Apple just dropped a game changer: buy now, pay later options. AKA, you know what I call that? Buy now, pay later. When I see that, Dave, I call that modern layaway. Yes, except you don't have to pay for your toys in full just to get them.
Oh, that's
cool. Were you saying?
Well, so this layaway program, I didn't get into the story because I don't like payments. I pay cash.
Because it's dumb.
Like, they'll give you the device and then you just make payments on it. I guess that makes sense.
Basically like you do your phone.
Yeah. But Apple was already financing their devices. So, you know what they're doing now? I guess they're doing Vision Pro and whatever else. So, I mean, every Apple device is connected, so why not? And the Vision Pro really isn't selling because it's a $3,500 toy.
Who's going to do that?
And their top manufacturer, they just said that they aren't expecting reorders from the high-end device. So, it's going to be interesting to see if that goes anywhere. And the airline industry is again in heat. The FAA is probing how substandard titanium with bogus paperwork ended up in commercial jets. The sketchy metal came from a Chinese company and landed at Spirit Aerosystems, which supplies Boeing and Airbus. The drama started when the vendors spotted corrosion. Titanium is supposed to be like a super non-corrosive, capable metal, but I guess the Chinese vendor was mixing metals together, making their own little
what are they
alloy
doing?
concoction.
But are they finding companies on the street? How do you find an actual company to be selling you bogus stuff? Like surely they had to do some vetting this is like a plane.
Yeah, so
you didn't vet the company?
Yeah, you know what I've seen? Friends of mine that have manufactured, I'm a hardware guy, I'm the gadget guy. Friends of mine that have manufactured devices in Asia, they might run a factory in 2 shifts. The first shift gets the legitimate stuff. The second shift is rogue. They're using the same factory, but lesser quality materials come in. So when the inspectors go home at the end of the day, the second shift gets the bad stuff. And you can read about this. There was a device my buddy Bunny made called the Chumby. And Chumby had little SD memory cards in it to boot its operating system. And he kept getting failures, but not 100% failure, just random failures. And this clone memory chip was going into it, which was causing failures. And he got to the bottom of it and found 2 shifts at the plant that caused this problem. Do you believe that?
Unbelievable. Wow. Okay.
Well, Boeing, speaking of inspections, is stepping up with more in-person inspections. Whitaker is visiting Boeing's South Carolina factory soon to ensure things are airtight. Boeing is on notice. And, nothing better than a plane being airtight.
Yeah, I get it. In a latte twist, the Supreme Court sided with Starbucks in a spat over 7 Memphis baristas fired for trying to unionize. Now, they've been called the Memphis 7, and they claim the coffee giant asked them to squash union activity. So the case is now back in lower courts after the Supreme Court clipped the NLRB's wings on this whole issue. Insane. That's crazy.
Man, we've got a good theme here going. We've got aircraft theme. We have Juneteenth theme. I like this.
Okay.
All right. Ford's Model E program just got a glow up. EVs will now be sold at 2,800 dealerships, doubling the previous count. I guess they had to put chargers in a lot of those dealerships because think about it. If those cars are on the lot, they tend to drain their power because of battery maintenance. That batteries have to stay up to temperature. They can't be too cold. They can't be too hot. So I'm assuming that Ford put more plugs in those dealerships. But EV sales are slowing. Ford is slashing prices by 30% since the program's launch. Dealers need to install level 2 charging stations by March next year. That's for the customers to come in and use, which is exciting. Yeah. So you go to the dealer and who wants to hang out at a dealership anyway? Like if you get your oil changed or whatever, I'm like, oh God, I got to sit and work out of the dealership with their bad coffee and stale lighting.
Except I'm going to tell you something. At Mercedes and Porsche, listen, my son, when I'm like, I got to put my 10-year-old's like, I'm headed. They'll have like little grocery stores in there with yummy coffee, with good drinks, with the good snacks. So just saying.
Yeah, the last car that I had was 2019 car, which last 2 years ago was a Tesla. And they come out and do the work for you at your place. And then when I did go to the store to get parts, because I do all my work myself, as we've mentioned on the show 1.7 million times, they just kind of like a desk where you go to the parts desk, say you're here to pick up the part, you buy it in the app, and then you leave. So although in Austin, there's a brand new dealership for Porsche that's multi-levels, and their Insta stories are so great. I guess maybe Porsche of Austin, Texas or something. But they've got a killer dealership, so I want to check that out. They've got all the race cars and classic cars and all that stuff.
Wow.
Too.
Wow.
So everyone says the future of automotive is electric, and Ford is charging ahead despite sagging sales across the board. And then look, there's a glut of Tesla Cybertrucks out there in the market for sale. The Taycan is losing its value. I hear you can get an Audi e-tron GT for just a couple $100 a month for the base lease. And I'm sure there's like add-ons on top of that, and there's mileage limitations as well. But if you don't want the Porsche Taycan electric four-door, you can get that Audi E GT and roll that way, which is basically a Porsche Taycan. So electric is not doing so well this summer, all because of you, Georgia. You didn't like your road trip in it.
Basically. And here's the thing. If you're going to buy an electric car, and I was just talking to somebody at a dealership, a salesperson, they were like, if I was going to buy an electric car, truck, whatever, I would lease it because things are changing so much.
Yeah.
That if you don't want to be stuck with last year's chargers or whatever's, the tech changes all the time. And when you're getting an electric car, that's going to have crazy tech. It's changing.
Your new Mercedes SUV, it has like the whole front is screens, right? You've got a screen, maybe
but
two in the middle and one.
It's not electric.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just saying, like cars in general are rolling computers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And who knows what those screens are going to cost. The good news is on some of my cars, like I've got a 2015 Ram truck and it's got a big screen in it, but the 3G network went down, which is the Sprint network used to be the telematics system. So I get errors that pop up on the screen that say the phone connection doesn't work. And I'm like, look, Fiat Chrysler Corporation, I don't need 3G on my car, right? I got it on my phone. But to show this big error message, and you know what's crazy? Like I'm the hacker. I added LED headlights to it. I reprogrammed the computer to say like, oh, there's LED headlights, not halogen. Because the computer was shutting off the headlights because the LED headlights weren't drawing enough power, so the computer thought that was a failure. And now, because the 3G isn't active, it's getting errors for that. So I got in there with a special program to turn all those things off, and you can't. You can't turn off that 3G stuff. And also, I'm like, well, let me just disconnect the antenna from the back. That way it can't find that 3G signal at all. And now I get a different error for that. So it's
okay. It's a lot. It's a lot. Like you said, they're just big computers that we're driving. I was in this loaner, Mercedes loaner electric, and I just left the dealer and I'm literally like a mile down the road, and I get an error message saying error, return the car, or error, your car is going to turn off. Your vehicle will turn off soon. I was like, what?
I know.
And normally if that was my car, I'd go another month. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's just but because I was in a loaner, it's an electric. I don't know what's up. So I make that UE, get back in there, and the salesperson is like, I'm so glad you did. My service person was like, because these things will just stop on you. I'm like, what? In the middle of the road? Are you? She's like, not like that, but she's like, it's gonna like not work anymore once you stop. I was like, what in the world? I don't need that in my life. I just don't need. And I see we've talked before. What?
Do you know what the problem was? Like, what?
I was like, no, what? No, I don't know. She just put me in another car, another electric truck.
Oh my gosh.
Another electric car. But I see why Americans, after driving a loaner, I see why Americans are like, yeah, I'm just going to keep driving gas for a while. With the infrastructure, there's just a lot of stuff, a lot of reasons. I mean, it's something we have to get used to, but for reasons like this. Anyway, meanwhile, Dave, LG Electronics and ChargePoint are teaming up to boost production of electric vehicle charging stations. More on how to invest in charging stations coming up in our consumer trend segment. I got to tell you all about this. But in other news, Dave, we like the cars that go boom. Do you remember JG Fat?
And Bunny.
Thank you. And we like the boom. How about my husband doesn't remember that freaking song? I was like, who did? And then they had the song Supersonic. Okay. Anyway,
can you do the flip it, flop it, rap in the middle?
I'm like, dude, you don't know music if you didn't know JJ Fad. I think they only had like 2 or 3 songs, but y'all look it up. Let me know.
Well, back in those days, I was putting 17 amps in my lowrider mini trucks, and now I'm putting 17 amps in my boats. And of course, we had to do Cars That Go Boom. That was the test song. Once you put your system in, you had to make sure it would boom enough.
You got to make sure it goes boom. Well, planes too, by the way, go boom. Boom Supersonic CEO Blake Scholl is taking us to the future with style. He just opened a swanky new jet factory in Greensboro, North Carolina, of all places, and he is dreaming big. Imagine this, Dave. Zipping anywhere in the world in just 4 hours. Wait for it. Only $100. I said 100.
No,
it's like something out of a sci-fi movie. Yes, no exact launch date, but keep your seatbelts fastened for updates. I'm telling you, how can he ever do this? I don't know, but I like what he's doing. I like it. I like where he's going.
Audible sigh. I never got to fly in the Concorde, but some of my friends went on that final trip, and it cost them like, I don't know, $2,000 or whatever, and that was in 1999, 2000 era money.
Yeah.
So I can't see how he's going to do it for $100 because hashtag inflation. But all right,
Exactly.
I'll jump on that supersonic flight, but not the first one. I'm going to wait till he does like 100 of those.
We can't be on the first one. Yeah, maybe not even the first year. Like we get that second year. Today's pro tip is brought to you by OptionsPlayers.com. Did you know that OptionsPlayers.com trademarked the term stack your gains? Yep. They've been in the game so long, they made it official. And with today's wild market swings, it's clear why their strategy is gold. When the market is choppy, grabbing gains as they come and dodging FOMO is crucial, people. OptionsPlayers.com is offering everybody a free month to experience the art of stacking gains. Check them out. Let us know how it goes. Take it from Andy, who writes, I joined in January to get serious about options. I've still got a lot to learn, but thanks to your awesome community, I'm thrilled to say I just hit my first 100,000 in gains. Okay.
What?
All from options since joining. Huge thanks to OP, the rules, and a stellar start to the year on Wall Street. This has been a blast. Thanks a million. And he's on his way to 1 million. Anyway, he said, thanks a million for founding OP. And y'all, that was a real quote from a real bona fide person. OP thanks you, Andy, and encourages you to keep stacking gains.
All right, this is the part of the show where we get to hear from you. You can hit us up on social media at What's Next Wall Street. Drop a comment on our YouTube page. We love reading the comments.
Yes, we do.
Especially if you're just a little catty. Not too catty, just a tiny bit catty, you know.
Not mean, just catty.
Just catty. Makes us know. Yeah, it makes us know you're live. I mean, we do this just for the clickbait.
Yeah, because we ain't getting paid, so yeah.
That's true. All right, you can also shoot us an email at WNWshow@gmail.com. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/@WNWshow.
Yes.
And the first up, we've got Adam D. from Houston, Texas. Yeehaw, he asks, for the market to continue to go higher, is it necessary for pullbacks or consolidation to happen, or can it just go straight up? We've got Greg, lead instructor for Options Players here. Greg, I notice there's like tiny corrections happening in the market every week, but man, I think if there's a tiny correction, then it goes back up 2x. You know, Paul Abdul wouldn't like this. It's
I mean, it's really simple. Like if you put your money in it, it's probably going to go down, right? And then if you don't put your money up, it'll just continue to go up. that's my theory. But yeah, you don't have to have a pullback, but we're going to look at history, right? So historically, we see a 10% pullback off highs every year. And like every 3 years or so, we see a 30% pullback. Now, sometimes you get black swan events like the pandemic where it happens really fast and it goes back up. And some people don't count that. But yes, it's a supply and demand kind of thing where it kind of goes up. The market's built, all laws, everything is built in the market for the market to go up, not come down. Everything is made for the market to go up, okay? So all that coming down is just, some people think it's manipulation to get, you know, the retail investors screwed so other people can buy it up. There's cycles and there's all this math and all this crap people say about it, but really, yeah, you got pullbacks and you got everything else. If you like the company, buy the dips and keep going. But no, the market can just keep going higher. It's just a matter of time for it to come down, you know, but then it goes back up. So that comes back to, if you're investing, the old saying, you know, time in the market's better than trying to time it, right? Or
time in the market.
Now, if you're trading, you probably
I like that time in. So it's a long.
So if you're an investor, time in the market's better than time in the market.
Easy to remember. Yeah.
But if you're trading, actively trading, you got to time the market. You know, it's not how long you're in it. It's about timing it. So as an investor, if you're investing, you know, for whatever reason I'm not saying for whatever reason, but when you're investing, it's time in the market. You know, find what you like, put it in there. If you're trying to actually trade, usually trading, you need to get in and out. You don't need to just stay in, and you don't, because especially if you're already profitable, you got lucky, get out, you know, and then rinse and repeat. That's just my philosophy. Everybody can do whatever they want, but yeah, investing, the majority of your money that you save should go to investing. And then the small portion that you want to trade, you know, you're trying to time the market there.
Today I played golf with a woman earlier this morning. She's retired. Husband's retired. She said he bought 200 shares of Nvidia years ago and just held it. I was like, she was like, yeah, I was like, are you crazy? Why would you buy 200 years ago? I'm like, what are you doing? Do you own this golf course, girl? Because I mean, wow. Can you imagine? All right. Next, we got an email.
Yeah, 200 is not a lot. We have an OP member that actually got paid in Nvidia stuff, and I'm not putting all his business out there or how much he has, but I can tell you it's got a comma in it, and it's at least 5 digits, and then we have more that have, and they've held it forever, like 8,000, 10,000 shares.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, and I remember there was one guy, I'm not going to call him out, and he was like, should I sell it or anything like that? I was like, yeah, I would probably, you might want to start taking some tax of it. And this is, it was not.
Oh, he got to come back and kick your butt.
So now I feel bad if he did, but, it is what it is. You got to have some tax.
Yeah. And then I had a buddy who,
you never know what's going to happen.
A founder, or not a founder, but an early guy at Silicon Valley Bank. And he didn't pull out. And I think you should have, like, even the CEOs, they have scheduled sellouts over time to diversify. And now my friend, he lost, 99.9% of his investment when SVB went belly up, right? We covered that on the show, but you never know. Not everybody can stay on top. That's why we're all using...
And then you want to know the funny thing about that bank is you need to go look where all the executives went. Where did the chief investing officer of that bank, it was actually a female. Where does she work now? Of course, she got a job at a bigger bank higher
What's
up,
the bank?
by the way.
I want to know.
But all the investors lost their money somehow.
Okay.
I'm not going to call it. I don't want to get sued.
We'll talk later.
No,
somebody put it in the comments section. Okay, so next we've got Barbara from Cleveland, Ohio, who has a question for Greg. She writes, if Greg had to choose one ticker for a long play from these 3 stocks, what would he choose and why? Disney, Alibaba, or PayPal? Long pause.
That's a pregnant pause. Greg, are you pregnant?
Now, this is a investing thing, and then I'm also thinking about where they're at. All 3 of them are down. PayPal has a lot of competition, and I want everybody to understand, PayPal, huge company when it came out, it was just running up, and then everybody started to compete, right? Nvidia, take notice on what's about to happen to you, because PayPal is making so much money, everybody came after you. That's what's going to happen. You're just going to get competition to fill that demand. Disney is kind of on a downward slope. I wouldn't say from the pandemic, because it really that actually should have shot it up because of the
streaming that they did.
Staying at home and watching Disney Plus.
That was a great time to launch the product.
But everybody knew that streaming services were not a waste of money, but cost a lot to start. You got to host this stuff on servers and all this. And Disney went after it because they had this major, what do you call a portfolio in the business? What
library.
do y'all call it for
it's
movies?
Called a library,
what is
Greg.
it called? Okay, so just a large library of everything, right? It's Disney, and then they bought everybody else out, like all the other Star Wars stuff and ESPN or whatever else they bought. And where's that at now, right? You saw the price go up to 200 and everybody's like, I was like, this is not. No streaming services are out there making mad money. They're just not. It's a very small margin gain. And Netflix, for example, makes some money. But Netflix is also always getting in trouble for not paying everybody as much. Disney makes a movie or a show, they're paying people out of this world prices. Netflix is over here and they got somebody nobody ever heard from Turkey making an episode, and then everybody loves it, right? Because Netflix makes more stuff than everybody else combined. But everybody goes out and they're just, I'm not saying it's a bad thing they're not paying people this, because the people on Disney are making
they're
hundreds
big
of millions of dollars.
So they got to pay them.
Whatever. Yeah. But still, Netflix is better because you got 95 million that are coming out. And then Disney, that's where it's at. You just have too much overhead at Disney Plus. With that being said, will they ever make money on it? I don't know. But Disney has everything else. So Disney is one where I kind of like this. And I think I've always said this on the show. When Disney gets below 100, that's kind of that little area where I would look at maybe investing. And it's a very good company to invest and then sell covered calls against. because it's not a very volatile company. It usually does not go from like 100 to 200. It did when it released its Disney Plus. Alibaba, I won't trade it. It's a Chinese company, regardless of security clearances and things like that. Go watch the movie. It's on Hulu now. You used to have to pay to watch this thing. It's called The China Hustle. All right. Now, I'm not saying Alibaba is exactly like this, but go watch. All right. And it will describe how foreign companies, like if you want to know what Alibaba's doing in China right now, how can you do that? You can't. There's nothing you could do. They can lie and put whatever they want to in every document they can. And there's no law that can reach over to China and say, show me what you got.
But you're saying we have that here in America.
We basically,
like our companies are here so
right.
Upstanding. Come on, we got.
But let's just put it like this: watch that movie and
what's
tell
it called?
me if that happens. Because guess what? In China, the China Hustle. In China, if you decide, hey, I'm going to go investigate this company I invested on, and I'm going to go over there and I want to videotape this company work. How many trucks come out of it? How many cars do they have there? It's illegal and you can be arrested. Here, you can sit outside and videotape or investigate whatever you want. You cannot do that in China. So there's a lot of issues. So Alibaba, I'm not touching. Plus, most people don't understand what Alibaba is. I think Alibaba is try to do too much. People think they're the Amazon, but they're not direct to consumer. They are B2B, right? So business to business. They're selling businesses a bunch of gadgets to sell or something like that. They're not direct to consumer. But then they come out and they want to do like an AWS through Alibaba. They want to do this. They're trying to do everything and they suck at all of it. It's just like the Wish version of wannabe Amazon and everything else put together. I hate it. But they make money, or they supposedly make money on the books. I don't know, because, I don't receive a dividend from them. But so I just stay away from it, mainly because there's a lot of risk. And, let's just say there is a war that pops off. That company's crap right now. It's going to get kicked off the market. You're going to get $0, right? I'm not even going to talk about that one. Next is PayPal. I think I already discussed that. They have a lot of competition. I like them. But with more competition coming in, margins are just, like I said, they get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And I think everybody kind of charges that same 3% or whatever. I don't know what exactly it is, but, let's just say it's 3% per transaction. But that's everybody. Credit cards charge people that. You might not get paid it, but the person that owns that business is being charged that. So it's still, that 3% is across board. So unless you get the Robin Hood of online payments, which I don't want to say what that's going to be, I don't really see, the margins are just going to get squeezed up. And so for a long-term investment, I don't care about PayPal, but that's another one where, I think it could slightly go up. I think it's a lot down in the last few years, like down like 75-80%. So it might be one of those ones where you can buy and sell covered calls against. But out of all of them, Disney. Why? Because it's been here for a very long time. It will probably continue to be here for a very long time. And I don't know if PayPal will I think PayPal will probably be bought out. I think that's where PayPal's money will be during a sale. Alibaba, I don't trust. But this is me. I have my money. I don't need to make any more. I just want to protect my money. Therefore, Disney is a solid choice. Now, if you don't have any money, you might look at Alibaba and say, hey, this thing is down like 1,000,000%. I can go in and buy this and I might get lucky and it goes up and I can make my most money on Alibaba. You get what I'm saying? So it's two different approaches. Which one do I think could go 5X? Alibaba. Which one, the other two? Absolutely
Listen
not.
to this, Greg. Disney just got...
But which one could also go bankrupt? Alibaba.
Yeah.
So...
And with what China did to Jack Ma, they kind of quieted him off and sent him off to some island somewhere. He was the former CEO of Alibaba, or maybe he's current CEO still. I don't know. All right, Disney just got an approval of a $17 billion development deal with DeSantis. I guess they had a truce over the don't ask, don't tell policy that they did not have. So they're going to build a 5th theme park there. So that means they're going to be like, unions are going to get involved. It's going to be delayed. It's going to go over budget. The stock's going to suffer. So maybe wait a little bit and buy that Disney stock once it goes down. after this, because how long does it take to build a massive theme park? That's got to be a multi-year
Universal
endeavor.
is building one in Frisco, but it's funny now. DeSantis is not running for president. He's like, you know what? How can I now? I better get along with Disney, because Disney is Florida. Let's just keep it real. Disney is Florida.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Hey, it's a pro-business state.
Yeah,
Disney can build stuff fast there. I think the biggest issue is going to be the EPA, because half of the stuff where they actually want to build it is probably some type of park,
swampland, exactly,
or wetland or something that's protected, because that's
all right.
Yeah,
well,
so
who cares? Exactly. Thanks, Greg. We love hearing from y'all. So if you've got questions, or you just want to say hey, or if you just have questions for Greg, we are here for it. Okay. You can even reach out to Greg at greg@optionsplayers.com. Questions, comments, or just sharing your thoughts, please bring it on, and email us at WNWshow@gmail.com. You can post your questions and comments on social media at What's Next Wall Street, and of course on our YouTube page. Just post them in the comments and we will read them here.
All right, last week's was Apple's intelligence event, and they said the generic version of AI only once, and that means artificial intelligence, compared to Google at their event a couple weeks ago, using it 142 times plus one for comedic measure. So Apple says they've had machine learning in the iPhone for a long time through what they call their neural engine, which is just another processor or a modular on the processor. So this came out, the neural engine, around the time of the iPhone 8 and 10 in 2017, and was then used for photo effects, identification of animals, birds, which is really cool. You take a picture of a bird and it tells you the name of the bird, and even human tagging. Oh, and how could I forget? For mapping your face onto emoji. Now, did you ever make a video and send that emoji of you talking through a lion, octopus, or shark that would mimic your face? Yeah, that. So now Apple has announced Genmoji, their generative AI emoji, which means you can place your face inside of an emoji that's rendered by the magic of AI. So it can be literally anything. Or you can have it make an emoji from scratch for you. They use the example of a smiley face with cucumber eyes, which sounds very relaxing and not like the AI is coming for us or anything. So this is coming in the next version of iOS 18. And to do this, Apple has upped the game with the number of CPU cycles or processors required to enable this melding between your face and whatever your brain can come up with regarding generative art. But that's not all we're going to get. But let's talk about the hardware first, because you're going to need modern Apple silicon or chips to run this stuff. Now, the neural engine in the M1, which is in laptops since 2020, and the rest of the Mac line since 2021. Oh, and tablets like the iPad Air and Pro for the last couple of years. Now, this has a CPU with 16 cores and can perform up to 11 trillion operations per second, which I guess is a lot in nerd speak. I don't know. But it's the first neural engine available on a Mac OS device. That means if you have a MacBook Air or a Mini with the M1 CPU, you're good to go for all the new features that are going to ship on the latest version of the operating system coming out this fall called Sequoia. Now, generally, I don't recommend upgrading your operating system on day one. That's because your favorite third-party helper apps like file managers, music, media editors, and whatnot usually don't have their updates in place to make things under the hood work as they should. I'm going to play with it, but I'm going to use it on a spare MacBook that I use in my shop just to let you know how things progress. That way I don't lose my head if something doesn't work as it should, and I can go back to my primary laptop. So watch these upgrades, especially with some pretty crazy stuff like AI integration throughout. But here's the gist. You'll get the ability from Mac apps like Pages, their word processor, or Keynote, their presentation application, to help you write and create images for your content. Now, this is just what ChatGPT or Midjourney or others have done on the web, but these will take place right on the device, and in some instances, don't even need to go to the cloud. Now, this is most interesting to me because all the Meta products you see, like Ask AI inside of WhatsApp or inside of the Instagram, you name it, they are all free. And even free tiers of OpenAI are using products that both take your input, meaning the stuff you want to upload or ask, and the output that they create to train their model. So they're using your content to figure out what people are looking for with AI. So that means if you're getting it for free, you're the product. So we've talked about this before on the show. Now, Apple says their privacy-focused cloud called Private Cloud Compute won't do this. It's all your content. You own it. Goes to your own cloud. But I'm sure there's going to be some sort of a server fee for this, or it'll be rolled into your iCloud software for $9.99 a month or whatever you're paying for that. But since we're on the topic of cloud, the pending licensing agreement between Apple and OpenAI involves integration into OpenAI's ChatGPT and their ecosystem tied to Apple, which is brand new, which is specifically for use on iPhones. Now, the deal will allow Apple to incorporate the popular chatbot, which you can get as an app right now called ChatGPT, built into its suite of AI features, enhancing the AI capabilities available to the users. The terms of the agreement are not fully disclosed yet, but the collaboration would likely involve Apple running some AI features through its data centers equipped with in-house processors, which those are rumored to be on their own high-end silicon, which might be an M4 or an Ultra M4 variant. We assume they're not using Nvidia chips like everyone else is because, Apple, they like to do it their own way. Now let's talk about the mobile phone and Siri, which I love Siri, but it's kind of like a bad relationship where she really doesn't get me most of the time. I mean, I can ask for a radio station all week, and then she goes a little bit crazy and starts playing some other random station that I've never asked for before when I asked for the one that I've been listening to all week. Now, Apple says the new Siri will have a richer language understanding and awareness of your personal context. So she'll hopefully remember what I've done last time. Now, really, this is 5 years too late, but let's go on. Context is a popular word. Apple sees all my text messages, knows which emails I read and delete, and who contacts me in the address book. But when I get into my car today, CarPlay starts playing the first song in my iTunes, which I hate. Look, we've all heard it a million times. You should play the most recent download of my and your favorite podcast. What is it? Oh, that's right. What's Next WallStreet? Now, with these mobile phones, you're going to need an iPhone 15 or the upcoming pending iPhone 16, which has not been announced yet, in order to do this cool stuff. Now, remember, the iPhone 8 and 10 have been using the neural engine for photo processing, edge detection, so you can snip content out of an image and paste it somewhere else, and doing portrait blurs and such. That's all processed on the device, but it doesn't have the capabilities for the next-gen AI stuff. Now, it's supposed to cover offline Siri requests as well, which makes sense with Matter. Now, Matter is the home connectivity standard. We talked about it on a prior show. That means privacy and no internet required to do some things with Siri. And I'm excited about that too, because if I want my light to turn off and on, or I want my garage door to be closed, I don't need to go to the cloud for that. In fact, I really want it to stay inside my house for privacy and security. Now, the A17 processor, which is in the iPhone 15, has a 16-core neural engine, the same amount of cores as its predecessor that I have in my iPhone 13 Pro, and then later iPhone 14 Pro. However, Apple Intelligence is only capable in the 15, and that's because the NPU, the neural processing cores, are supposedly twice as fast as the processor that I'm using. Plus, the A17 processor has 8 gigs of RAM. It's over the previous 6 gig that the iPhone 13 and 14 have. So they're saying that because of the watchdogs that are used, the cleanup code inside of the AI, you really need a lot of RAM for that to be able to hold the language models in place. So it's strictly a memory limitation for now. Apple has given primary hardware first dibs at stuff, and then they've taken lower models have gotten those features later. So as an Apple shareholder, though, I can't wait to buy an iPhone 16, and you too as well, because I'm on a 3-year upgrade cycle. And really, I want Siri to be a smarter girlfriend for me. That's all we want in life. All right. Thanks for tuning in to What's Next Wall Street. Leave your comments below. Are you excited about the AI stuff? Or are you going to wait and kind of sit on the fence a little bit? Let me know what you think.
All right, Dave, the EV scene is buzzing as the world shifts green. Global EV, that's electric vehicle, obviously, sales are set to be 36% in 2024. Now, that's down from last year's 62% surge. However, the market is still zooming from just 3 million EVs sold in 2020 to 17 million expected to sell this year. Now, to be clear, 2024 has not been kind to some EV stocks. Big names like Rivian, Lucid, and XPeng have seen their stock their values plummet by 80 to 90% from their peaks. Now, high interest rates, slower economic growth, and cutbacks on EV subsidies, especially in Germany, could be to blame for that. But have you seen the Lucid? It's just like, ugh. And the Rivian, I drove it. I was like, what's special about this? But
you
anyway,
didn't like the Rivian?
I didn't like it at all.
They're getting 1,000 horsepower second gen Rivian is about to come out, which in electric vehicles, they generally don't get second gen so quickly.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't know. I couldn't get into it. I wanted to love it. I really was like, I'm gonna go green. And I was just like, no, I'm sorry.
Was this the SUV or the truck? Because
it was
the truck has
pickup.
Yeah, it has a golf bag holder behind the seat. Or behind the bed? Did you see that?
So cool. Guess what? My trunk's a golf bag holder, so whatever. Experts say that by 2030, 40% of U.S. car sales could be electric. And after being an electric loaner for 2 weeks, listen, by the way, the car company, Mercedes, all they give you is electric loaners. And I figured it out. They do it so that you can't go anywhere, so that you have to find a charger. Now, they gave me a little charger to put in my garage.
110-volt garage. It takes forever to charge.
Oh, my Lord. It's ridiculous. And try finding a charger, because there's, you really need to join the charging network, or there's like a billion people waiting for the fast chargers. Oh my gosh. But I tend to think the money still, Dave, is in the charging station. So China is leading the pack with over half of the world's public slow chargers. Europe and the US are not far behind, thanks to big bucks from both governments and private companies. Now, fast chargers along highways are easing range anxiety, making EVs more appealing to everybody. Now, did you say there's one in Madisonville, that's right in the middle of Dallas and Houston, right? Centerville. What's that, like 150 miles from Dallas? Or is it right in the middle?
Yeah. Well, whatever the right in the middle is, like hours wise, I don't know miles, because and one time I missed the exit.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, maybe I can make it to Corsicana the next one, but nope, I had to turn around and go back and plug it in, because like there's really have to charge in Centerville. There is, but you can't make it.
Okay.
Not on a Model 3 anyway. I had a long range Model 3, and I was like going to draft behind a semi and get a little bit of kind of like slipstream it in there. Nope. Yeah. I turned around and went back.
So do you remember how many miles you got on a charge with the Model 3? How many?
200 something. Yeah. Mine was
like almost 300 or almost 200.
Well, so the rate you're really not supposed to charge the cars up to 100%, because that's got to do 80. That pegs the volts in the cells, right? Yeah. So yeah, you got to do 80. And then at 80, you're only going like, I don't know, 240 miles or 260 miles. So
it's ridiculous.
But Centerville there was plenty of range to get to Centerville, is what I'm saying. But past that, no.
You weren't speeding, probably. You can't go because for those of you who are not in Texas, you're going 75 miles per hour, and that's what the speed limit is. So really, you're going like 100. So
75 miles an hour, you're really taking more current from those batteries to go that fast, because you have more wind resistance then. If you think about, remember back in the 70s, it was 55 saves lives and gas. Yeah. And that's because going at 55, you didn't have as much wind resistance. So you also weren't opening up as many barrels of the carburetor, or pushing as much fuel through the fuel injectors, which were newish at the time. So electric vehicles are the same. The slower you go, the less wind resistance and more energy. So I was doing 75, 85 because I might rock a radar detector or two. And
I use Waze. It works.
Wait, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and even Google shows radar now as well, which is nice.
But let me ask you this. So do you remember, like, my mom, my dad, if I was ever running out of gas, I would turn off the air, because I was like, that burns more fuel. I don't know if that's true, but I know it burns more charge, because the lower, like, I turn the seat, the cooling seat on and turn the air off, I save. Is it true with gas too, though? Just asking.
Yeah, absolutely. Because gas uses a compressor that's on a belt, and that belt has your power steering pump, unless you have electric power steering. It has your alternator, which generates the voltage to recharge your batteries on a gas car, and the compressor for the air conditioning. So all of those have a load on the engine. Now it's very low. Maybe it's 15% or 10%, because most of the energy is going to move the propulsion of the car forward. But an electric vehicle is different. If you have a heater on the car, a heater is like a direct short, like a toaster. So that takes a lot of energy. So Tesla's gone to what's called a heat pump, which you might have a heat pump outside your house. And a heat pump acts as a refrigerant compressor. So it creates heat by removing cold from a space, right? So it's not burning a strip, which is a direct short. So Tesla is doing some things to try and make clever, let's call it power compensation. And if you run the air conditioning compressor on cars, that's typically an electric motor, like the heat pump I mentioned. But the seat might just be fans, right? They do take some refrigerant, but maybe if you turn off the AC, but turn on the seat coolers alone, that's just blowing air. But when you hit the compressor button, the AC button, that would pull in a second system to compress that air. So everybody handles it a little bit differently, but they're trying to do the best they can to conserve the energy, is the long story shorter.
Now, Dave, the U.S. EV charging market could explode nearly tenfold by 2030, with charge points rising from 4 million to 35 million. With that in mind, let's talk about some EV charging power players with future investment potential. There was a collabo just announced this week, and it's LG along with ChargePoint. Now, they've got chargers that are going to mix the ChargePoint chargers are going to mix LG's top-notch hardware with ChargePoint's smart software. Now, LG jumped into the U.S. EV charger scene earlier this year with a factory in Fort Worth. Meanwhile, ChargePoint already has over 300,000 stations across the U.S. and Europe. There's Plug Power. Plug Power is diving into the EV market with its pro-gen hydrogen fuel cell engines, offering a really clean alternative to traditional batteries. Now, despite a dip in hedge fund interest, the company's pushing forward in supporting zero emissions transport. NIO is expanding its charging network with innovative power swap stations where drivers can swap batteries in minutes. Hedge fund interest in NIO is growing. That's NIO, with holdings rising significantly. Li Auto's range extended EVs with onboard generators are perfect for long trips without frequent stops. Hedge funds are increasingly interested in that, doubling their holdings value recently. So there's that. Rivian is heavily investing in its charging network. Now, despite fewer hedge funds holding its stock, the total value of these holdings has surged. SunPower is now teaming up with Wallbox to charge EVs using solar power. Now, they've been installing solar-powered EV chargers since 2021, and there's ABB Ltd. That's ABB Ltd. This is a Swiss company, and it's all about electrification and robotics, including EV chargers for homes and heavy-duty trucks. Now, I've been using EVgo, with my loaner. So EVgo here's probably why. They've got like over 800 fast charging stations in 34 states. EVgo is the biggest public EV charging network in the U.S. Their chargers work with Tesla, Ford, BMW, Hyundai, and Chevy, and they offer a subscription service. Now, so does ChargePoint, which we talked about earlier, who provides EV charging for homes, fleets, and businesses. And they also handle and they install monitoring and maintenance. So we talked about them having 300,000 stations, blah, 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 and their new partnership with LG Electronics. So they've got new stations set to roll out this summer. Now, here's the thing. I think that if you can get into some of these chargers, I'm trying to think about Beam Global. Beam Global is all about renewable energy. They offer EV chargers powered entirely by renewable energy. Big names like Alphabet, Johnson & Johnson, even NASA are clients of theirs. Blink Charging, there's 1 million, but there's not really 1 million. There's seems like it's 1 million, but it's not. Blink Charging boasts over 30,000 charging stations in 13 countries. In Q3, they deployed over 3,000 stations, a 351% increase from last year. Let me give you one more. Volta has caught eyes with its EV charging stations that double as digital ad screens. That's a smart way to keep the juice flowing and the ads rolling, right? And of course, last but not least, Tesla. Tesla's global supercharger network makes long distance travel a breeze for Tesla owners. Now, hedge fund interest in Tesla remains strong, with holdings value increasing significantly. Bottom line is this, to me, EVs are charging ahead, and you're going to want to be riding shotgun. So here's the thing, Dave. I gave you a head start. You got to do your own research. I gave you more than a head start. I gave you 10 different companies. But I want you to comment below. I want to know what you find. Meanwhile, stay tuned to What's Next Wall Street for more exciting updates on the green revolution in the EV world. I think charging is the way to go. Do you know, is there one that you might want to invest in, Dave? What do you think about that?
No, I had my eye, and we talked about on the show on Volta. We talked about BP, Shell. There's different kind of collaborations that are happening there. And even in Europe, I'm starting to see some of the small gas station chains that maybe have little mini marts inside. Like in the US, it would be the equivalent of a 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
They're trying to do charging setups where you could plug in and then go inside and eat.
That's what's got to happen.
Schnitzel or something.
Schnitzels.
Yeah, that's what's cool about
that's gotta
Centerville.
happen here.
In Centerville, I love it because there's a little barbecue place there, and the walk is pretty far because the Tesla parking's at the far back side of the lot. But by the time I walk in, and grab a burger, go to the bathroom, and go back out, or barbecue rather, it's ready to go. So,
it's
you don't really
charger.
have to. You don't feel like you're sitting and waiting, right? But Tesla was first to the game with fast charging. So, do they just have Tesla charging there? Is it just Tesla? Well, Tesla, and I talked about this on a prior show, but when I first got mine, there was always a spot available. Then I started having to wait maybe 2 or 3 minutes for a Tesla to pull out. Yeah. And now they've opened it up for Ford and other manufacturers. So I've sold my Tesla since then. And frankly, I was a little happy to sell my car once Tesla opened up the charging network to other people, because Tesla had every charger in the same position on the vehicle, and it only took one parking spot. If you have a Ford Lightning or a Hummer electric or whatever, those trucks have to park sideways and might have to block 2 or 3 charging outlets because the cords were so short with Tesla. So this is it's going to be a problem. And I had a fast charger at home and a fast charger at my Houston apartment, but I needed that Centerville to make it work. So hey, look. This is a new digital world that we're living in, and we are your guides. You've got questions just like Radio Shack. We've got the answers. Like, one question is, how many Radio Shacks are left? I'm trying to find them up.
I know.
Hit us up at WNWshow@gmail.com or connect with us on the social medias at What's Next Wall Street. We would love to hear from you because, what problems are you having? Let's dig in. Let's solve those for you.
Absolutely. Hey, catch all our episodes on YouTube by searching WNW Show, or of course you can tune in on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast fix.
Don't forget to subscribe, share it with your friends, smash the alert button, and stay updated with the trending info as soon as it drops. We only grow by you sharing the show with a friend, and we want you to be smarter by recommending us.
That's right. And you know what I love? We have our podcast listeners. Y'all are thebomb.com. We love it. And we want to get our YouTube views up as well. But our podcast, we appreciate y'all listening. It's the bomb. Right. So thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Dave Mathews.
And I'm George Alfredas. We'll see you next time on What's Next Wall Street.